personal power, people positive, the community of connection. This is the Bob Jeswald Show.
When you start thinking about children with disabilities or anybody, sometimes you just think, well, they're all taken care of. It's not a big problem. But when you start thinking about those in maybe certain ethnic groups in these socioeconomic areas of town, we don't maybe get the support, or they're not really getting the information they need to be provided. And I got to tell you something. GaQuilla Hunter Mathews, our family support coordinator at New Horizons Behavioral Health, is on a mission. And Joanne heard it too quite well. You got a couple good things we're going to talk about here today, but your mission is to do one. If you said one thing, what would you say? What is that mission?
Inform, empower, and equip.
I like that. And when you say equip, tell us about that. What would that entail?
Inform parents or caregivers the information that is out there for their special needs child, grandchild. Equip them with the tools needed to care for that individual. Empower them that they can do it, that it is possible. If you don't know the information, you don't know, you have no beginning. If you have no beginning, you have no process. You have no process, you have no end. Our desired end, me having a disability, my toddler also having a disability, we want to be included.
Gotcha. And what do you think, how does the system bypass your, like maybe your son or somebody else out there listening, or somebody who knows of someone to say, gosh, they should get the care? How are we missing it in society? I guess it's always, it seems to be like this, and we just, like you said, the information needs to be. But from your point of view, what have you seen?
If it doesn't affect you, it doesn't affect you.
I got you. Okay, makes sense.
That's literally it.
Yeah, let's be what it is. What it is. Yeah.
If wherever you go, you don't have to call and ask if their sidewalk is operational, you don't think about that.
Never thought of that. Yeah. It's back in the days when the Disabilities Act came in, and you thought, remember wheelchair ramps and things like that. I remember, places I worked, I couldn't even believe how long they went. This is going back in the late 90s that didn't have wheelchair access or a door wide enough to provide a wheelchair to come in to use the restroom. So these are things that, sometimes still go on, and there are people who could use these services but are having some issues here. Your son, tell us quickly about your son. It's a great story. And I want to tell everybody, Joanne, you got to listen to it too. GaQuilla has a podcast, and she talks about her toddler when he was born in infant, and didn't really know what was going on with him a little bit. And then you learn later that his disability came to fruition, and now we know what he has, so we can at least navigate around that. But how did you, it's a cute story. It's just so cute how you would wake up in the morning, you go see the little man. I love the whole story. Tell us a little bit, just briefly tell us about that.
Okay. So I have a disability. I have spina bifida.
Okay.
And I have two older children. One will be 23, one will be 20.
Wow.
And then I have my little butterball that will be 4. As a veteran parent, I knew milestones. My baby started meeting the milestones and then regressing through the milestones. So those were triggers. Those were red flags. Did not know what I was looking at or for, but I knew something was going on. Again, if information is not available, you don't know where to go.
Sure.
So watching him, he would do things. He would flap his arms very rigidly. He would do a monotone hum. He used to make great eye contact. Then all of a sudden, he stopped making great eye contact. Certain things were warning signs that might have potentially led up to something. Took him to the doctor with my collection of information and asked, is there something more to this? Great doctor at Rivertown gave us a referral, and he ended up being diagnosed with autism. Now, he has autism spectrum disorder, level 3, which is the most severe.
Okay. Wow.
He also has an accompanying language disorder because he is classified as nonverbal. So at maybe 10 months, he would start saying, mama, mama, mama. By 12 months, there was just the hum.
So it's interesting how it digressed. Instead of, you would think it would be the other way around. It just doesn't, you would think he would start off that way. So there was something there. Was there something that triggered it that made it go downhill faster? Or is it just a condition you have that is just the way that's just the way the disease progresses.
Some say
or
it's
whatever.
hereditary. Some say it may be vaccinations.
You just don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is just, it is what it is at this point, and how do we progress with it, or within the limits
To
that
get the support you need. Yeah.
society has. And so he started off with speech therapy, occupational therapy. He was a little over 2 when he first got diagnosed. I am a teacher by nature, not credentially, but I'm a teacher by nature.
Sure.
So the things that I did with my older kids, I did with him. We sat on the floor, we did ABCs, we did everything.
Motherly instinct. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes he would respond, sometimes he wouldn't. But I still kept doing it. That's all I knew to do.
Hoping that something was going to maybe trigger here. Why is he not responding? I can gauge it from my other 2 kids as a veteran mom. When you say veteran mom, just want to be clear, are you a veteran? Did you serve the country? Because you could definitely, would you say that, Joanne? Because Joanne's got military, her husband was military. Does she seem like a military wife?
Veteran as in I've done this before. I've done the rodeo of parenting before.
Yeah.
It just had been a very large gap.
Yes.
In between. So with him doing the regression, again, we did the speech therapy, occupational therapy, things of that nature. And Dr. Google.
God forbid. Joanne, you know what happens to me when I do Dr. Google.
Dr. Google.
Scary stuff.
Bob has a
And-
death sentence every time
Oh
he
my
does
God.
Dr.
Oh, I had one
Google.
that was bad this summer, GaQuilla. Oh, you would. I wouldn't. I was.
You
Shouldn't
almost
be here right
died.
now. Yes, I almost did.
According to
So
Google.
close.
Don't do Dr. Google. You should know that by now.
So far away.
It's
Great
Dr.
search
Google.
engine, but sucks when you really want to get the truth.
Absolutely. And once we got the clinical diagnosis, I made a social media post of his clinical diagnosis, and I put a public service announcement out. I need sources and resources. That I'm not creating the wheel. I'm just trying to get in the one that's moving. What is in Columbus related to autism? Where do I go? Who do I ask? What do I say? And from there, multitudes of information. I'm a big advocate of parent resources. I'm a big advocate of resources, period. But if you don't say anything, you don't learn anything.
Sure.
If you don't ask, no one answers. So I asked for sources and resources and was given very great information for an agency called Babies Can't Wait. Another one was Parent to Parent, just multiple places in Columbus. Then, as now, we're a year and a half into it, what I'm noticing now on the further side of it is there are not a lot of inclusive places here in Columbus.
Explain it. But give us an example. And I'm just hypothetically guessing. In our area, I would think like more of the South Columbus area, or what areas would you be saying? What other areas would you be talking about?
Perfect example. Before he was diagnosed, again, I have physical limitations.
Okay.
I took him to a gymnastics place.
Okay.
He physically is fine. His cognitive skills are at a lack. So he's physically fine.
That's incredible. Okay.
I'm not physically fine.
But you're not, because and you have spina bifida.
I do.
So with that, there's different levels. I know is it hydrocephalus? Am I saying it right?
Hydrocephalus.
Hydrocephalus, and then sometimes you use a shunt to help drain. Do you have a shunt?
I do.
You do have a shunt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You walked in here. You look good to me. I wouldn't even
Thank
know. I never knew it until, of course, when you told me later
Right.
you did. I wouldn't know. So sometimes a disability could be hidden. So not assuming just because I see GaQuilla, I go, she's fine. I mean, what the heck is her problem or whatever? And you walk out of your car and you got a handicap, sticker on there, and people, I hate to use the word handicap or disabled
Right.
sticker, you know what I'm talking about. And, we just can't see the outside looks good. Your son can do these things physically, but mentally he might have the challenge. So right now, where are we with this place? He's doing gymnastics. You're trying to.
I took him to gymnastics as a
Yeah.
trial because he's fine. And I put in the note section that mom has a disability, may need assistance. Reach out if I need to do anything further. No one reached out. We attended the class. This class, the building has multiple floors. The second level of the class was up about 28 stairs, which I can't do. But you advertise as all inclusive. Who are you including? Are you including people that can walk upstairs because you don't have an elevator?
Yeah, I got you.
You don't have an escalator. How do I get my baby, who has no physical limitations, up to the next level so that he can participate in this activity because you're all inclusive.
Right.
So he was denied something due to my disability. Now, from the parent perspective, when it comes to him in school, I have concerns with inclusion there because cognitively, he is not aware that he does not get the same highlights and privileges and pictures on, the website.
Sure.
He doesn't get that, but I understand that. So now I have that grievance. So again, when you're saying inclusive, who are you including?
Yeah, that's a term that maybe you got to rethink that sometimes before you place it on your business card or whatever. I mean, Joanne, weigh in here a little bit. Help me, JoJo.
Oh.
I mean, I just want your perspective. I mean, as a gym owner, and
Yeah.
you're somebody who gets that, and you're, and as a District 7 counselor, city counselor, you see areas and this and that, but from your experience, what do you see? And I know your place is like one straight level. You don't have an upstairs, downstairs, it's all one level. And it's big. I mean, you're to get in and out. But what do we do in a situation like that from do we see, have you seen anything like that in the city or anything with the schools or anything that rings a
I
bell?
think a lot is addressed with the ADA access points. Our gym specifically is ADA accessible. We have the wheelchair ramp. We run a lot of programs or we have a lot of options, I should say, for individuals with disabilities, cognitive disabilities. I think I just put up today. I work with a young man, Jason Richardson. You might have seen him.
Yes.
Over at Country's Barbecue. He's got some physical and cognitive disabilities. But we do have options. It might not be a good fit for him to go into one of our classes, so we have a personal training option. So we can work with individuals that way. So we've been able to kind of skate around those issues. I mean, I have a young man who's autistic who comes in and volunteers for us and cleans a lot of our equipment because he wants to be in the gym environment, and it gives him some purpose and it helps us out as well. And I mean, I have quite an eclectic group over at CrossFit CSG. So we were just talking about that today. It's quite an eclectic group. So I mean, from my standpoint as a small business owner, from being in the gym industry, and then from also, I'm sure Bob has told you all about the races that we put on races. For me, it's
athletes.
For me, it's very important to be accessible for all walks of life, and to be able to scale anything anywhere. I also put on that little note about Jason today that I think a lot of us need to stop saying we can't because and start saying we can if.
How do you like that? I see you lit up. GaQuilla just smiled as big
and
as a smile
I think
could
that
be.
goes across
Love that smile. It's a beautiful smile.
I mean, that goes across physical
a
limitations, mental limitations. I mean, that even stems all the way to if you want to touch on city service. I mean, that goes across all walks of life. I mean, there's not really any limitations.
Sure.
There's always a way. It just might not be the way that you want to be.
The local, is it local McDonald's or Burger King? I'm getting mixed up with the Schuster. It was one, I don't want to misquote here, but one of the fast food chains in our city. They hire a lot of the children, young adults, and that have. They're, I was saying autistic. There's a different form. And your son, his autism probably wouldn't allow him to maybe serve at a window, but he can do something else. And they're the most friendliest children and young adults, and they're excited to be there. It's something to do with their condition, but at the same time, they're wonderful in the service industry. They just adore people. They love to see you. There's never a look of sadness. They're embracing everybody who comes in, that sort of thing. It's a great thing. And what Joanne was saying with Jason, was he a car? It was I don't know how much you can say. Well, he was in an accident, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I have two Jasons.
Yeah. Maybe I'm getting them mixed up with that.
I have two Jasons who are also both in car accidents. So Jason Richardson, who I posted about today, has probably. I mean, they both have physical and mental limitations. I mean, we're both dealing with traumatic brain injury. So there's just different varying degrees of cognitive ability.
Gotcha. So TMI. So everybody. There's
both are very high functioning. I mean, Jason Day is going to graduate from college this year, and
it's going to be
your son next. So it's just there's just different ways to get there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, labels kind of restrict. Again, my baby is level 3, classified as nonverbal. However, in November, he started saying his alphabet.
I love it.
He can say his alphabet,
awesome.
his colors, his numbers. He can spell his name. You can tell him to do anything, and he does. His paperwork says level 3 nonverbal. My paperwork says spina bifida, the most severest form. However, I have a master's and a bachelor's degree.
There you go.
No limitations. But I need you to accept me within what I'm working with. Cater to me, meet me where I am. That's all. Is don't exclude me by default based on a diagnosis, and then learn me as a person and see what I can bring to the table and allow me the opportunity to do so. If you just go by diagnosis, if you just go by paperwork, you're automatically considered a no or at a deficit.
What would happen if, and it's not, I'm not saying this, but on your resume, if you didn't have that on there, and then you can talk to someone, then you can tell them, because you wonder, people get a paperwork and say, oh geez, they're not going to, this is a physical labor job. I can't have this person or that person do this and that. And we know it happens. We do sensitivity training. We're a big corporation. So, and I'm a supervisor, so we go through so much training and some people some people quip and say, these are actors that are putting stuff on. But the situations and scenarios they paint are very true. Exactly what you're saying, that we can't make those calls. You got to judge everybody, treat everyone the way you want to be treated, accept them, and find, there's got to be a position in there for someone. I mean, I think, it's the communication is huge, and you're a big part of that. But you also touched on something else when it came to education, is when you talked about the PTA, which I thought was remarkable. I mean, you're kind of looking into something like that, because the PTA, there is nobody there being the voice for somebody like your son, let's say, or if it's at school, wherever it would be. How do we change something like that? And what are you looking at to do to help draw attention there, put the light on, so to speak? I mean, because,
Yeah, my goal, my initial goal, I wanted to join the current PTO where he was. But I also wanted to know who was maybe on the committee or on the board speaking on behalf of those with disabilities. I don't think there was anyone. So that prompted me to further investigate. Why isn't there one? Who is willing to be one? I'll nominate myself to do it, because
You'd be great.
I understand it from so many different dynamics.
Yeah.
But I further reached out to PTA in Atlanta, found someone here that is affiliated with the state PTA, but she's our current district PTA representative, and asked her, was there something, just how do we insert ourselves into what's already there?
Right.
Or if we can't, then how do we make our own? How do we make our own party or whatever? And there is something. It's called SEPTA, SEPTA, Special Education PTA.
Okay.
There is an actual special education PTA unit. From my understanding, I'm still new to this. It's something fairly new. So that's probably why you don't hear about it. So you're touching on something.
I mean, you're like totally, you're tuned right into this, and it looks like you're hitting on something that's pretty good.
So now I'm asking, how do we do it in Muskogee County? And the person I'm speaking with, collaborating with, recommended that we do a community-wide SEPTA. Then that way it's not for one school.
Yes.
It's for all of Muskogee County schools. Put out generic fillers, and there's a lot of feedback. A lot of people want to know, and it's something as simple as my baby's class goes through the side door. I understand safety reasons. Front door, you have the balloons and the streamers and the signs.
Sure.
Side door, you don't. Why?
Yeah.
Why doesn't that sector of babies have the same recognition and celebration? My baby has a cognitive disorder. There is nothing wrong with his emotions. When you clap for him, he claps. He understands being celebrated. celebrate everybody.
This just seems so simple. I mean, this is like, you know,
It does.
let's do it. You know, and there's different levels of it. You just don't think about it because I guess again, if it doesn't affect you, you go right back to that again, right, guys? I mean, if something, anybody, even stuff when you hear people with their parents, I'm dealing with some situations up in upstate New York, and at the time of this podcast, and it's crazy in a way because you don't think it's going to happen to me, but. My mother is going through stuff. I got a stepfather. They're both not able to really take care of each other, but they still are cognizant and they're able to, you know, go against medical advice. And it puts everybody else in a pickle because they need all this care and they want us to help and navigate and coordinate. But it's like, guys, you can't keep doing this. We got to do something here. And yet they seem to keep making the final decision what they're going to do, right? So it's very, very frustrating, and it's hard, but when it affects you, then you start thinking, okay, let's do something. So let's get off our, you know, our fanny here, do a little something. You left after being at a local YMCA, and you got this new position, which is great. This as a family support coordinator at New Horizons Behavioral Health. Are you imparting any of this in there? Are you able to be the person that kind of can funnel through all this, and somebody comes in and you can say, hey, I need to get you, you have this, I'm going to help you here. People, there are actually places that can help you, like GaQuilla.
I fell into this position. I went for services for Ellis and found out that they did not have a coordinator. My mentality is if I can fill the need, if there's a need, be the need. That's what I did. I had the credentials, and I've had the job since June. I am a family support coordinator, and what we do is it's state funds. It's not income based, but there are criteria that you have to meet as far as being disabled. And what I do is help you find services and goods in the community for the disabled person that is in your family. But I understand it completely different because I have that in my family.
Right.
I
it's
am
personal.
the personal.
This is very personal. Ellis is in the house. Come on.
Receiving the
he
services.
rules the house. In your podcast, he does. It's a great, sweet story. I love it. So Ellis, so everybody knows that's who we're talking about today. It's her son. And in the podcast, you just don't miss. What is your podcast? What is the podcast?
It's called Quiet Moments with Quilla, Redefining Life's Chaos. I haven't recorded in a while, but there are previous episodes. Basically, I started doing that. Again, the second part is redefining life's chaos. Things are going to happen.
Right. Everybody's got chaos in their life.
How do you deal with it? Navigate the chaos? How do you say, okay, this happened for that. Had this not happened, that had not happened. Had Ellis not been diagnosed with autism, I would not have known about New Horizons.
That's true. And look how it all works out.
Right.
And you ask, like, you're the exception. It's almost like I believe you're put in a situation like this because you know how to get out of the situation like this. So we got a link we have right here of your podcast because I'm telling you, folks, just listen to these quiet moments. You just have that comforting voice and you're talking about it. And you talk about the story, how it all started and how you went to the crib. And I mean, it's very touching and comical too. I mean, there's some real fun moments in there. You really paint the picture. It's cute. Like you paint the picture is what I'm trying to say. You paint the picture of what you had gone through to discover that he had autism, but we didn't know where he was on the functioning level. So, and we also have, is there anything else we can plug, for local New Horizon behavioral health, but what else do you want to put out there that people need to know? Like anybody listening to this that is discovering a child, or if they have, like you said, yours is very unique because your disability and his, like if you were to put you two guys together,
we're one whole person.
You're one whole person. and I don't mean that you're not. Joanne's looking at me. What would make me whole, Joanne? What do you think?
We're one abled body, put it that way.
We have
one
enough
whole
time in a
body.
podcast to go through that, Lewis.
How do you make?
Have to
I want to
break
be
for next
It's
week.
like Joanne. Put me together here. What would I? What would it be? Give me two things. Because nobody, we can argue. No, why am I even going to her? Because she's going to say, you can argue that I'm not a whole person, but I need to be put together so I could feel like I am. Could it be our spouse? Could it be something?
Like a yoga class or something?
Yoga might help. Yeah.
Help center you.
I need to be set. Is that what it is? JaQuilla knows too. I'm like all over the chart. Yeah. You know when I would come in the gym, JaQuilla give me that look. I could see her looking at me like, Bob, You know, you're talking to this one,
Yeah.
you're over here
Those
talking to that one.
memes where like the brain is scrambled.
Right. What
That's
do
Bob.
you need? How do you need it? Breathe.
Bob's brain is just scrambled.
Here it is. Right. Which is exactly me and my
Reference,
baby.
Okay,
Yoga
that's what it
Kids.
is, yes.
Exactly
episode.
me
That's
and my
what you're
baby.
doing. That's exactly what you guys
He's
are. Yes.
in the living room on a trampoline, wide open.
That's my
I
I'm getting a
can't do that.
trampoline. JaQuilla, I want his trampoline.
You don't want a trampoline that's like an ACL waiting to happen, Bob.
Come on, you may need the AED machine after that. I don't know, but to keep me in rhythm, I don't know what it is. But I totally. But see, people understand what I'm saying. I mean, it's interesting because it is a very unique situation, and that you have. I didn't ask you, but what would be the challenge for you to go up the stairs? I didn't know. I mean, because again, you're remarkable. Like I would look at you and say, you look completely whole. If we use that word, is that okay to use that politically correct? I can say it because I hear when people, you don't want to say like invalid and all that. I mean, I'm not about that. Everybody doesn't matter if you have a disability, you're functional and you can do everybody. There's a purpose for every one of us. And there's things that folks with disabilities can do better than me or somebody else who use the term whole or whatever it may be, you know.
Fully functional.
Fully functional. Let's go with fully functional. Joanne's giving me the
let's
look
do that.
again. She's, I got it.
Okay.
It's fully functional, Joanne.
Let's not get
It's
I
started.
got
not a
it.
PC
Yeah, okay.
podcast.
I'm
here.
just telling
Okay.
you. Okay. But go ahead.
Fully
I'll let you-
functional.
Fully functional.
So what again, I have physical limitations. So I wore braces for 16 years, different things.
Sure.
Follow along with spina bifida. So when I want to take Ellis somewhere, I have a different set of questions. Can you accommodate me physically?
Good point. Okay, yes.
And then he has sensory issues. Can you accommodate his sensory issues? I cannot take him to launch because I can't jump like that.
Gotcha.
And I used to be not wheelchair bound, but I had segments of having to be in a wheelchair. But I like going to the fair. I like going to the carnival.
Right.
They don't have adaptable rides.
I never even thought of that.
So
Makes
I
sense.
just-
yeah. Even something small or a little train or something to give them that pleasure
Right.
or feeling that, you know, that sensation of
Inclusion.
moving or inclusion. Why do people use, I guess the inclusion word, we got to be careful with that. I mean, we're throwing it out like we include everybody, you know, come on in, you know, and I hear that. And so it's not necessarily, you know, folks may want to investigate further. So when you hear that, that may give you a little, you may want to keen in a little bit and test it out. Say, so when you say that, I have this and that, and my daughter has this or my son has that. You know, ask the questions and find out, are they really? And maybe what you're doing, you're educating them too. So these people see that and they're like, hey, geez, you know, she's right. I guess we're really not, you know. So we're doing the best we can to get through, which makes sense.
Right.
Makes
but
sense.
We need to change that.
Yeah.
We need to change
And
that.
you're on a mission to do that, gosh. JaQuilla, we love you. Thank you so much. It is JaQuilla Hunter Mathews in the house. She is our family support coordinator here today. We have all the information on the bottom here. Anyone wants to learn more, could they reach out to you, JaQuilla? What can they do to reach out to you? Because somebody's going to want to maybe ask you a question, say, hey, I'm going through this. What can you do to help?
I will leave some of my business cards here
Sure.
as well as my business information,
Sure.
my New Horizons information.
Gotcha.
I am on most social media. My biggest pull now is trying to do the SEPTA.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to be involved in that, they can email me personally.
I love that. The Special Education PTA. Let's do it. Yeah.
So my email address for that is GaQuilla75@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Joanne.
So email me about that, and then I'm not pegged as a parent coach.
Okay.
However, if you just need somebody to talk to because your baby just got a diagnosis, whether it be autism, spina bifida, anything, find me.
Okay.
I may not have all of the answers, but I have some of the answers, and we can breathe through it together.
That's how a community comes together. I think of autistic. They even have their logo as the puzzle. You know, the pieces all fit together. You're part of that, and you finish up the whole piece. So we appreciate that, painting that good picture. Joanne,
Bob.
give me a picture. Tell me. Help
Sounds
me.
good.
Sounds good. That's Joanne says sounds good. I guess that's a wrap.
Okay, sounds good to me too.
You're wonderful. Thank you so much. You're welcome to come back anytime. Let's follow up on that. I want to hear about the SEPTA.
Okay.
Let's talk more about that. Talk about Ellis. We always want to hear about Ellis. Check out Ellis. Check out her podcast. It's been a while since she's done it, but it doesn't matter. It never dates itself because JaQuilla's podcast is right down here. Listen to her story. Moms, you may be able to identify or someone you know that you can help. That would be fantastic right here on the Bob Jeswald Show, which you can get anywhere, wherever you get your podcasts. We talk about areas like Apple, iHeart, Spotify. These are just a few of the places. YouTube is another one, WRBL.com. YouTube and WRBL.com. You can see the wonderful GaQuilla herself. And on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, you can always find Joanne and myself on there doing something crazy. We got a race coming up pretty soon on St. Patrick's Day weekend and much more. So, guys, thank you for tuning in this week, and it's good to have you back, Joanne.
All right. Adios, Bob.
Yeah, there you go. GaQuilla, thank you.
No problem.
Love
Thank
your
you.
smile. Thanks.
Thank you.